housewives, do you like...
My way.
Let me just take a little survey here. Hold on to that for me just a second. How many here are housewives and really enjoy what they're doing at home? Well, if that's true, then how come we've got so much... I've been reading about frustration. The kids come home, Mommy, I want... Then he comes home looking for his...
You didn't ask us which day we liked it and which day we didn't.
Wait a minute, help me out here. Look at her with the notes, and I'll stand up here a second. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Some days I love what I do. Some days I hate what I do.
Well, everybody could say that.
Sure,
Okay.
sure.
Listen, did you see one of the shows we did last week? The longest day of my life. So we all have... No, we all have those ups and downs days. You know what I mean?
I saw your interview about your being a homemaker, too.
Oh, well, that's an exaggeration. I can't...
Homemakers are not just women, they're men, too. Whoever is creating the atmosphere for their home.
But I guess...
Yeah, Phil, one of the big things, I think, is that what women do at home is just every bit as important and sometimes as boring and sometimes as exciting as what people do in the office, but we never get recognized for it. Mm-hmm. You know, the lawyers are considered terrific guys.
What do you want? You want a banquet? We'll put you at the dais and we'll give you a big plaque, which will mean nothing. I don't see... I guess I'm having trouble understanding what recognition means in the context of your observation.
Like Rodney Dangerfield, we get no respect.
Well, I'd like to stop being asked whether or not I work for a beginner. Do you work means, are you, I'd say, not outside the home, is my reply to that.
We should say that you have, each of you have 3 children. You have 2. Okay.
Also, when you come home, your husband comes home from work and he says, look at that milk on the floor. He doesn't know that maybe a milk truck came in through the front window, and you took care of the truck, you took care of the driver, you went to court, you did everything, you got dinner ready, and there's a spot of milk on the floor. Right. I mean, all he sees is the milk's on the floor. And how come you haven't been doing anything here today? You know, there's no understanding of what it is that women work with.
I think that homemakers have similar problems to people that go through retirement, that work for several years and then they stop. Okay, now we're starting to recognize that and we're doing counseling, but people are just starting to realize that what some of the problems of homemakers are. We have, unless you belong to a group of homemakers, you have no peer approval. You have no one saying, hey, you're doing a good job, and this was just brought up recently last year in a study that was reported in Psychology Today, that a majority of the homemakers do not feel that they're doing a good job because they don't have that. You have people that you work with that said, that was a good show today, Phil.
Yes,
you did a good job.
That's true. I get a lot of attention, no question about that, and I need it. I do. I mean, you know, I wonder what's going to happen to me when this all blows away. I'll probably be... If you took my show away and sent me home to raise the kids and do the wash and make the suppers and clean off the thing and make sure the top of the refrigerator is clean because we may have company coming over, I would go crazy.
Point of order, point of order. Homemakers do not just do housework. Most of what we do is nurturing and caring for other people and keeping other people mentally and emotionally healthy. And when people talk about homemakers or housewives, they say all you do is housework. Forget about the refrigerator.
Yeah.
It's how...
The live human beings that are in your...
Sure, and it's not just the little human beings, but the male human beings who come in, you know, and are bedraggled, and our parents, the older people. I mean, it's the care that we give to other people that is totally unrecognized.
The speaker... That's Jenks Melia. Mrs. Melia is with the Martha movement. Now, I'm going to explain what the Martha movement is. I'm fascinated by the origin of your name. Martha was, wait a minute, don't tell me, Jesus' sister-in-law. Jesus' aunt.
Different religion.
Jesus' aunt, right?
She was a good friend.
Well, she's a good friend. Wasn't she related?
No.
They didn't say. We're not asking.
I'm going to get clobbered now. Well, tell me who she was then. Jesus and Mary went over to visit Martha.
No. Mary and Martha were sisters.
Well, if Mary and Martha were sisters, then Martha was Jesus' aunt.
No.
Oh, another Mary. Oh, Mary and Martha were friends of Jesus, not Mary, the mother of God. Mary, just a person in the Bible. Right. I got you. All right, well, it's a normal...
Mary is a very common name.
All right, let's move on, because I'm embarrassed. Now, tell them what happened when they went over to visit.
Well, basically, Mary sat at the knee of Jesus and partook in the festivities, and Martha got stuck in the kitchen.
And she wasn't too thrilled about it either.
And she still isn't.
So the Martha movement is an attempt, an organized, national organized attempt to have housewives share information with each other, frustrations, joys, ideas, and with the hope that the result will be to elevate the feelings of housewives about themselves.
That's only the beginning. We feel that homemaking is the most important work in this country, and that the society is going rapidly downhill because homemakers are ignored. As for example, I went to a meeting several weeks ago of Congress talking about the family, and they had everybody there but homemakers. And they were saying, how can we solve the family? And they started talking about zoning and about traffic patterns, for crying out loud. And there wasn't a homemaker there to say that the home is what, you know, the caring and the nurturing. And nobody's paying attention to that.
Ann Follis is, you're with Housewives for the ERA.
Right.
You can help me out with that, sir? You got, thank you. I got an electrician here helping me with
Don't
my
fall.
microphone. You, Housewives for ERA is obvious. I suppose one of the points you want to make is that you don't have to be a feminist or you can be a person who's at home and still support the ERA and benefit from its
many homemakers do support the Equal Rights Amendment, and we're concerned primarily. When I got into ERA, I began working for it as I just thought it made reasonable sense, but I was a housewife and I wanted to be a housewife, and I never assumed that I really needed the Equal Rights Amendment for myself. And then I began to look at the laws that we have in this country and the legal status of the homemaker. Common law is the principle upon which our Constitution was written, and it's the principle behind most of the laws in most of the states in this country. Common law was described 200 years ago as meaning that when a man and woman get married, they become one, and that one is the husband. I think common law is best summed up by a footnote we find frequently in law journals, which reads, "The above does not apply to children, idiots, or married women." This is the legal
There is such a footnote, is there?
There is such a footnote, yes. In Florida in 1944, the Supreme Court ruled that when a woman gets married, incompetency seizes her. And when she becomes a widow, she suddenly recovers her competency. And if she's widowed, if she remarries, she becomes incompetent, legally incompetent again.
Now, Ann,
Don't you believe me?
I call you Ann. I should say Mrs. Follis.
Please call me Ann.
All right. You have 3 children, a loving husband who really does come home every night and
Yeah.
brings home the bacon and all that. Does
he's
all
a
the right thing. Right. Takes care, nurtures. You know.
I do.
What do you need, our ERA?
Well, the legal status of the homemaker is that she is not a partner in the family enterprise. She is legally, under common law, the property of her husband and subject to his legal mercy. They say wives have the wonderful right to be supported by their husbands. That's a bag full of baloney. We don't have these wonderful rights. We have the right to be supported as our husband dictates. No matter how wealthy he is, if he wants to spend his money drinking and gambling, if he wants to spend his money, if he refuses to fund a college education for a bright daughter or son, and I could be the most devoted wife and mother in the whole world. If my husband chooses to keep my family at a poverty level, I don't have the legal right to obtain anything more from him beyond the bare necessities than he chooses to give me.
Now, wait a minute. If your husband's making $50,000 a year,
Right.
he cannot gamble 35 of it and get away with it.
Whose husband
Who
makes
said?
$50,000 a year?
No, but I'm trying to make a point. I'm trying to make a point. You're saying that no matter what a man earns, the courts are only going to demand that he provide subsistence level for his kids.
That's right. Unless she gets sues, tries to get a divorce and tries to get alimony. If she wants to fund a college education for a bright daughter or son, she doesn't have the legal means to do this without breaking up her family and trying to get alimony, and even that's a very risky thing because many alimony laws don't recognize the contribution of the homemaker.
How does Jinx Melia feel about all this?
Well, we don't take stands on political issues. We don't take stands on the ERA because, first of all, we think women should make up their own minds. And we want women to join with us regardless of their own political or religious ideology. We don't care. I mean, we think that diversity is terrific and that people got to start talking to each other. And if you say beforehand you've got to believe in the ERA before you join us, and you never hear the other side. And I think that's...
Aren't you very close to trying to somewhat like this is a heavy question now. Don't let me get away with anything.
I won't smile.
Well, you know, it sounds to me like you've got a national effort to encourage women who are homemakers to sort of get in the business of being somewhat like the slave who is, "Massa, I'm happy in the field."
Oh.
I don't say we're happy. I don't say that we should be subservient. What I do say is that what we do is the most important job in this society, and it's time society recognized it and helped us to do it effectively.
Now, one of the points you made to me before we came in here is that one of the biggest problems with homemaking is the isolation and the loneliness, and that women go to psychiatrists because they feel lousy, and the psychiatrists are suggesting, at least indirectly, that it's their fault they feel lousy, and you see the system as providing that.
Sure. Isolation is the key cause of depression. The National Institute of Mental Health says that homemakers are the biggest group of depressed in the country. We go to a psychiatrist and he says there's something wrong with you, lady, that you can't cope. It's not us, it's the fact that we're isolated.
What do you think ERA isn't going to help that person?
Well, it could raise her status under the law. At least it would be a psychological or philosophical thing.
Yeah, I'm a housewife, but I don't feel isolated, and I feel really good about myself. You don't have to be isolated. And my husband, I know he appreciates me a lot. I don't think that the Martha movement would be, you know, very important to me.
The problem with isolation is that we don't feel isolated when we are, in fact, isolated. The fact that...
You mean I'm isolated, but I don't know it?
Sure. Most of the laws that are currently being enacted and most of the money that is currently being spent in this country, as for an example, all the foundations give money now to help women get out of the home and get jobs. We are isolated because they're not asking us what our needs are, and no money is being spent on homemakers. And the fact that you are isolated and you're not invited to the meetings and you're not invited to express your opinion means that none of the money is being spent to help you. It's being spent to help people who want to leave homes, which is why so many women are leaving home.
Well, I just do my own thing, you know. I don't have to be with the group to get...
What would happen, for example, there's a bill in Congress now, the Displaced Homemakers Bill. Supposing your husband was in an automobile accident, there would be lots of money to help you go out and get a job, but there's absolutely no money or ways, there's not even anybody talking about ways to help you keep doing what you're doing now if your husband was unable to support you. And there should be. There should be ways that you can provide income in your own home without having to go get a job.
So you'd like insurance then, isn't that what you...
There are all kinds of... Nobody's even talking about it. I just want people to recognize the fact that not all women should be leaving their home and going out and getting a job. Example, the new welfare law is, Carter says that women whose children are 14 must go out and get a job. In some of the environments in which those children are being brought up, I think it's a whole lot better if those women stay home and see that their children aren't out selling drugs and whatever.
So in other words, it's in society's interest to invest in that woman and allow her to stay at home to raise responsible citizens later and productive...
What is important...
We will invest in a woman who works outside
That's interesting.
the home.
That's between the husband and wife. I mean, he...
No, we're assuming an accident or some...
Yeah, that's right. But the thing is that he goes out and he makes the money, and you stay home, and you're working in the home, and the money, the work they do together and the money that he can bring in has to support them both. Now, they have to have enough sense to provide for anything like that, I think.
But most of them...
I mean, as far as insurance and things...
And if they don't, take them out and shoot them.
My point is that people like you should be saying what you're saying, not just to me, but to the legislators and to the people who are making, in fact, the laws of this country, the people who are spending the money of this country, so that your voice could be heard. And when you go to these kinds of meetings, no, you're not even there.
But I have other things to do besides go to those, you know.
Yeah.
What's happening in your...
Her point about
No, I think what you're saying is you're happy and I don't need her, and that's fine.
The thing is that I can find my own things to do individually, you know.
Huh?
Not everybody can find their own.
Not everybody what?
Not everybody can find their own things to do, and a lot of women need a support group.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we're going to have to applaud you, and we're all very happy for you, and we think you should write a book. But the point has to be made. The point has to be made that not everybody is similarly blessed with...
I've got to disagree. The problem is not a personal problem, because she can be very happy raising her children, and her children go out and get mugged by somebody else's children whose mother's an alcoholic because she's not happy. And it's not just an individual problem. It is a social problem, and we're the people to solve it. And to stay home and say, I'm happy, is not going to solve the rising divorce rate, it's not going to solve the increase in juvenile crime, it's not going to solve the problem.
I'm really upset. I've got a break here, but why aren't you calling for more sharing with the husband and you know, why should homemaker equal woman? Why can't homemaker equal woman helping, woman and man together as a
Delighted
partnership?
to get more men as full-time
yes.
homemakers.
You like that
We
too?
think homemaking is great, and parenting, we don't want to, we don't want to stop doing it. We just want to include men in on the act sometimes. We think it's that great.
You're okay at home, huh?
I love it, yeah.
Do you really?
I sure do.
I mean, isn't it boring doing the wash, though?
Oh, sure. Isn't your job boring sometimes, Phil?
Yeah.
Every job is, but you're
All right, well,
caring
what's
for human
exciting?
beings.
Oh, the
Yes.
kids are exciting, of course.
And my husband, I think it's wonderful. I think a homemaker is someone who makes a home, who cares for and
Yeah.
nurtures other human beings. And that's very fulfilling, and I couldn't get that in any other outside job.
Can you put the kids with your husband and take off and just, you know?
Sure,
you
ask
can't.
him. I sure do.
Is your husband here
Once
today?
in a while, yeah.
Is your husband here today?
Front row.
Is he? That's your husband. That's right. He looks very happy. And do you help? Hey, come
better.
here. Come here. Wait a minute. Yeah. Do you help at home?
Not much. Not really. I have a job where I work 12, 13, 14 hours a day, so I don't help much.
Yeah.
She doesn't go out a lot, but she goes out. She gets away and goes to
Aren't
a
you
meeting.
tired when you get home?
Well, usually I get home 11, 12 o'clock at night, so I'm tired, yes.
Huh? What do you do?
I'm a minister.
You're a minister working 12 hours a day?
Well, quite often. Quite often. Well, you have meetings in the evening, so
They
you
don't just
definitely
work
don't get
on
home
Sunday
at night.
morning.
Of course not. Yeah. I want your phone number before the show's over, all right? Thanks. We'll get back to you, all right? Ann Follis and her husband are at hand. She's here to support the ERA. She's in an organization called Housewives for the Equal Rights Amendment. Jinx Melia is with the Martha Movement, a biblical explanation of which I will be happy to provide for you in writing before the end of our program. And we hope you'll join us.
From Chicago, you're now in touch with Donahue, the president of the Martha Movement and the president of Housewives for ERA. Join Phil to discuss some of the concerns of today's homemakers on today's Donahue.
We're talking about the Martha Movement, an organization to enhance the status of the housewife in America, without whose continued talented contributions, all kinds of social consequences develop. Kids who are not happy, who don't like themselves, who are antisocial, and so on. And nobody's going to argue with you that the housewife certainly has taken a beating by a lot of folks lately. Okay, I know you want to get in the act, but I got somebody on the phone.
Okay.
All right. Ann Follis is Housewives for ERA. Go ahead. What do you want to say?
I just want to say that every social problem in this country, from energy on down, cannot be solved without the help of the homemaker. That you cannot do it without our help.
Is the caller there?
Yes.
Hi, is the caller there?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to say one thing, that I am a homemaker, and I'm expecting my first child September 2nd, and I'm 26 years old, and I really cannot see what the big thing is about being a housewife. I clean the dirty toilets, and I do the dishes and the laundry, and I maintain a household. But what I'm far more interested in, and not offended if someone asks me if I work or if I don't work, I would rather say, yes, I do have other interests. I macrame, I embroidery, I sew, I do have other talents. I can paint, I can play tennis. I would rather have those be the things that are brought out in my personality than the fact that I can run a household. I think that's very common for a woman to be able to handle that kind of a situation.
Yeah. You say you don't like housework.
It's not that I don't like it, I just don't find that it is something that I need to get on the streets and boast about that I can do or handle, because I think all or most women can do that if they have any brains, you know.
Phil. Down. No, that's...
Phil.
All kinds of people want to talk to her. You want to talk to her? Go ahead.
A man who owns his own store may clean out his own bins, and he may sweep the floor and wash the windows. He gets his respect not from the fact that he does the janitorial work, but that he does everything that is necessary to make it function. Yes. Homemakers don't just do housework. They keep family's going.
And her life is going to change on September 2nd. Possibly her attitude.
She better sleep a lot.
That was what I was going to say, that it's the people for whom she's providing the home. It's not the house, the building, that means nothing. It's the people. She's providing that service. And the home is secondary.
But here's the problem. Here you are, you're saying the importance of the homemaker, the children, the nourishment, the taking care, all the peanut butter sandwiches down the snotty noses, the pediatrician, all those things are important, love, nurturing. But I think that there are people out there who are doing this and doing it with every ounce of their energy and care who aren't happy.
That's right.
And they feel guilty.
Part of it, though, is the attitude toward the homemaker. We really don't respect the homemaker in this society as much as we say we do. We raise our children and tell our daughters the greatest thing they can do is be housewives. We offer them no economic security. We offer them no partnership in the marriage enterprise within the law, under the law. And Jinx and I were talking about this before the show, the fact that she's always billed as the head of the Martha movement, and I'm always billed as the president of Housewives for ERA or the minister's wife or whatever. And we are not billed as housewives because somehow you have to do something more than that. That doesn't count. That's not respected. And so then a woman goes and becomes a housewife. And she says, this is a lowly job. And she starts out with a negative attitude about this and it isn't fulfilling.
I think that's true, that there's no glamour in it, it's not cool, and people think, well, if you've been to college and you're at home, obviously you're just at home biding your time until you can go back and do something that means something.
Letting your mind rot.
Instead of realizing if you've got a college degree, you can be that much better of a housekeeper and that much better of a mother, which is the main thing.
Here.
You have a college degree?
Yes.
And you're a housewife, obviously.
Yeah, but mainly a mother of 2 children. That's what I'm most proud of.
Okay. And everything's fine with you. You're challenged. You're not. You read all these books about.
I am challenged trying to figure out how to raise those kids and do the best job.
You better believe it.
That,
You're excited about it, is my point.
Yeah. When I'm washing dirty diapers, I'm not too excited, but who would be?
Your husband's supportive, obviously.
Yes, very.
Your college degree is what?
Sociology.
Any interest in that?
Some reading in it sometimes. I think it helps me to interpret what I read in the paper, what's going on in society.
Your oldest child is?
2.
2 and 1 you got?
Yeah, and a baby, 4 months old.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay, you see, what they're out there saying is, oh, it's fine now, but, but wait till...
I feel like my hardest years are yet to come, and I'm really going to have to contribute to society because I don't want my son to be out pushing drugs, or I don't even want him to, even minor things. No, I don't think so. I wouldn't let him. But I think I agree with these ladies that a lot of the ills of society could be changed if women would recognize, or whoever is at home with the kids, as the people who are producing whatever kind of people we're going to have in the next generation. It's going to be produced by us and the captain of that ship at home. And if you have no captain of the ship at home, the kids are out on the street and they got a key around their neck. Well, I won't get into...
But if you're so important, why are you doing what you're doing for free?
Well, I don't know if I feel like I'm doing it for free. I don't think I'm doing it for free.
But it seems that we do have society saying you're important, you're going to save the hand that rocks the cradle, and then the men go out and get all the banquets and fly in the airplanes and get the first-class treatment.
You're classified under law with children and idiots.
I think women would have been and have been aware of the fulfillment of having a career at home until they have been undercut by society and made to feel that they were not productive and that the glamorous and fulfilling thing was to get out of the home. It's fulfilling for yourself, that's right. Now, I have done it most of my life and have taken rationalized it somewhat because my hours were short in that I was a school teacher. I am aware and have always been aware that it is not the ideal thing to do. I also see the products, as my daughter here has said, of
kind of uppity, isn't it?
Of homes. I have seen as a teacher the products of homes where mothers are working, don't see their children from very, very early in the morning. Some of them are placed on the schoolyard maybe an hour before school and go home to go into an empty apartment or to a neighbor. And we're all aware of the difficulties of our children today, our generation, both in learning and in behaving.
I've got to break here. I want to thank you for the important contribution you've made, except that this point has to be made. You really kind of, I know you don't mean to, but you're putting a kind of an onus on the woman who works outside the home. And the problem with that is most women who work outside the home do so not as a voluntary, luxurious option, but because of a
I
necessity.
was
They
going to
have.
say that. I was going to say I'd probably do it again because of the priorities that I had set, namely the education.
Okay, but
higher
your kids turned out all
for
right.
my children. They did turn out all right, but how can I compare all the moments that were moments of excitement and frustration with everybody getting out in the morning, moments of high tension,
But
and
you're going to have that. I mean, if you stay home and bake cupcakes, there's going to be high tension. You're home all day long.
I still think that there was something lost that should have been there. I definitely do. I had no better job to do than to raise my children. I tried to raise them and give them, as I say, an education. In order to do that, it was necessary for me to help bring in additional income.
You feel guilty?
I do, many times.
Well, you have my permission not to, but, all right? I must break. I know you want in this act. I'll give you that opportunity. Hey, congratulations. I hope everything goes well September 2nd.
Right on.
And we'll be back in a moment. We're talking about homemaking and housework and raising children and, you know, supporting it as a culture. We chatted just a moment ago before the break with a school teacher who felt guilty because although she didn't work a lot, she worked enough to feel that maybe just her career had provided some tension and unnecessarily so in the household. I've been reminded during the break that that school teacher is here with her kids. Would you all stand? 5 of 6 daughters. Stand up, just let them see you.
That's great.
You look all right to me. No sons? No sons.
Phil?
You know, if you would, one more time, well, we'll talk about it after that.
Phil? I'd
Yes,
like to
ma'am.
respond to something that you said before, that the woman was working for free in the home.
Yes.
I don't know where this idea came, that because the man goes out and gets the
Right.
paycheck,
Oh,
that money
boy.
belongs to him. It belongs to both people, and legally that should be recognized, that she is a partner, just as in a business partnership. When one of them stays in the office and one goes out, that money doesn't just belong to the guy who's going out and selling the service, it belongs to both partners.
That's good for you to
The housewife.
you say. Easy for you to say. But you're going to have to deal with that male chauvinist who says, I'm working in my talent and it's my check, and in a paternalistic way, I'm going to give you an allowance. That's a horrible existence. I mean, that's the way a lot of women live. Huh? All right. You're telling, what did you say?
I said, you're telling me.
Yes.
What we need is the legislative support for this, and I think our biggest problem is that our legislators are all men. I know I write to my legislator and call him, and he ignores me. He does.
Yeah, have your husband write.
Bruce,
Have
then.
your husband write. You'll get
Yes,
an answer.
that's right.
happened with me.
Really?
Yes.
All right. And
Or
have him
yes,
put
one woman said she had her 16-year-old son.
her 16-year-old son will be answered. A man, I'm sorry.
He has a man's name.
Is that a fact?
But women are just bothered. I would like to respond. The hardest thing to do is to raise a family properly. We felt it was important. We borrowed lots of money to put my husband through a PhD so I could stay home rather than going back to work.
Yeah.
And we think that this was important, very important, because there are things to do in the home, the nurturing, the caring, that cannot be delegated to anybody else.
Yeah. What if you were going for your PhD?
Well, what about it?
Well, I mean, would he quit? Would he quit?
But the important thing is one of us should be taking care of the children. I'm talking about our particular
Sure.
positions.
I understand. Are you emotionally prepared to accept the possibility of a man staying home and a woman going out?
Yes, I know friends who have, 25 years ago when it was thought to be very peculiar.
I know couples wherein the woman is significantly smarter than the man.
Well, I'm
That
sure
does happen sometimes. Bill.
Sometimes.
But that doesn't mean she should be out. Maybe the smarter person should be in the house.
Yes, right. Now, you see, your immediate assumption is that the dumb one should stay home and clean house.
This is exactly what I was trying to say, that the hardest job I have ever done was raising the children. It's easy to embroider and to sew and to lead meetings and to do all of these other things.
They're on a television show.
What? Yes. But
just stand here.
trying to do the right thing for a family is very, very difficult. You have people's lives in your hands to try to
I
really...
don't doubt that. I agree.
And so what we're trying to work for is the non-monetary contribution of housewives to be recognized, so we aren't forced out of the home for not only status, we can live without status because we have satisfaction in our family, but when my dad died, my mother had to pay inheritance taxes on his property. They were married during the Depression and had nothing until they both worked together. This is what we're working for.
I thank you. I know you have more to say.
Phil,
You will forgive me and allow me to move on. I thank
There's a
you.
really important point, too, which is that information that women need to be effective homemakers and to raise their children doesn't go to women. It goes to the psychologists and the psychiatrists, and we don't get the information we need.
You know what interests me, too? I know this, you probably don't think this is really important, but I was fascinated. Martha movement would like to have women's centers in shopping centers.
Sure.
Where you just leave your kids and you can go shopping.
Didn't say that, that's your interpretation.
Oh, you explain it to me then.
If I'm going to be a good consumer, I cannot also be doing one thing well and also doing another thing well at the same time. I know most of us end up when we go shopping, we buy the thing that
Sure, let's get out of here.
Right. There needs to be a place for women to be able to get in touch with each other, to find out about the resources, to get the raw data we need to run our lives effectively, and if necessary, for a place for our children to spend an hour or so while we are doing something else. Because we can't do 5 things at one time.
Wouldn't it be neat to have a woman's advisor or a consumer advisor in a shopping center saying, check the sale on underwear at Kresge? I mean, seriously. Or they've got, don't buy this because the pajamas are... let's take a call here. Can we just, quick, number 8. I promise you I'll be brief. Is the caller there?
Yes, I am.
We have so little time.
Okay, I wanted to say that I was a career woman for 10 years. From the age of 20 to 30, I taught high school. I had a master's degree. I was an intellectual. Then I became a mommy. I missed that outside stimulation. My mother-in-law, my mother, everybody telling me what a fabulous job I was doing. It just doesn't make up for it. I finally had to go out and do book groups, teach college classes. I had to do something on the side at night, or I thought that I was becoming a totally different human being. You know, I wasn't exchanging ideas. I was isolated. I didn't think my husband thought I was as interesting anymore. And I'm afraid that just telling me that I'm important as a mother just isn't enough.
Yeah. So you're saying the Martha movement would not... What are you doing now?
I'm running 3 book groups at night. I work with senior citizens.
How many kids?
I have 1 baby so far, a 2-year-old.
Right.
And I'm hoping to have another one shortly.
All right, do you have any?
But I'm saying it's not just enough to be told you're important.
All right, let me get Mrs. Mealy in here.
We would like very much to get people just like yourselves talking to explore ways that you can use your talents, your drives, your interests to further the home and the community where you live so you don't have to go someplace else. That's the problem.
I know you have more to say, but I'm really under the gun here, and I'm glad you called.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be back in just a moment.
Okay, I'd like to say my mother, she went back to school and she worked and everything, and I feel like, what a woman does in the home is very important, but, all of us, my sisters and I, are now older, so what does she do now that she doesn't have us to take care of all the time when we're always running and doing things?
Do you feel badly about her being alone now, or you think she...
No, I don't feel badly because we're there at times, but I just feel like there's something more important for her to do now that we're all growing up. I'll be going off to college and my sisters will be in high school.
And if she wants to go back into the working force, she's not, that people are going to say, well, she hasn't worked for 20 or 30 years, and so she's going to be at a tremendous disadvantage.
I'd like to say that I have a 7-year-old brother and I'm 16, and my mother is working now, and she has been ever since she married my father. But I would like to say that she is a homemaker, and she's an effective one, and we never need her and she's not there. Whenever I need her, she's there. So she's doing both, and she's proven as a typical woman that she can do it. So I believe
there are some super moms around.
We call those people super moms who do double duty.
Well, maybe we ought to demand that men hold 2 jobs, too, then.
I'd just like to say, if you really want to appreciate your wife, have her get a part-time job and take over some of her duties, and you find out what they really do, the wash, the dirty diapers, and the laundry.
You do the wash?
Sometimes. I won't say every time, but no, there's times I do it, and the dishes, and sometimes prepare food. Not too well.
Phil, I just want to say that we don't have very much more time left, and we're just starting to scratch the surface. I write for True Story and True Confession magazines, and if any of you will write to me at Burke, Virginia, I will put whatever you say in the magazine so that 24 million women can hear it, because what you're saying here needs to be heard across this country, and it's important that we start saying whatever it is that we feel. Whatever you write to me, I'll put it in for you.
I shall give them your address. Yes.
Maybe what we need to do is have a little revision in the dictionary. Why do we have to be called housewives? Why can't we be called homemakers? If you are a homemaker and you are as effective as you can be, then your husband is also part of that job, whether it's his going out or whether it's his helping you when he gets home from his job.
We've gotten a lot of flack about that with the Housewives for ERA, but the reason we started that name was because everybody said housewives are against it, housewives are against it, and we decided we would show that there are housewives for ERA.
Yes.
But we hear about
You
that all the
said
time.
earlier that Housewives for ERA is showing that you don't have to be a feminist to be for ERA, and that sort of showed me the stereotype of the feminist as some, heavy person in hip boots that certainly is not a housewife.
No,
And
I think you've overdrawn that a bit. Let me draw this analogy. A lot of Catholics are concerned that the world somehow feels the only people against abortion are Catholics.
Yeah.
And in the same sense, there are some stereotypical views which suggest that the only people for ERA are feminists. And that is to say feminists who are organized and meeting goers and politically active women. And I just
That is
suggested
absolutely not true. There are so many traditional women who have come out of the woodwork when they find out about our organization who say, I didn't want to be classified as one of those women's liberals, those crazy people with 3 heads, hate men, and are lesbians and have abortions all the time, all the things you read about us. But they said we really support ERA and we want to work for it, and this is the organization we can work in.
Of all my prejudices, one is not the perception of feminists as fat and wearing boots.
I know that from watching your show, but I just wanted to make the point for the viewers, really more than for you, that I consider myself a feminist, and I don't have 3 heads, and I'm not a lesbian. I am a housewife. I work also. I have children.
And you support ERA?
Yes, I do.
I thank you. Yes.
I think that it's imperative for women to find out, particularly housewives, to find out what their legal rights are. I was talking to a couple that were about 50 years old, and she had been relying on her husband telling her what was going to happen to their money when her husband died, only to discover, as I started pushing it, that the money was going to be put into a trust. Someone else was going to tell her how to spend it. And if they didn't do that, they'd lose 50%. But if she dies first, they don't lose anything, and he gets to manage the money.
Yeah, these are based...
And this is what her husband has been telling her husband who is going to helping her out and everything. I think it's imperative that women realize that they, especially housewives, have no legal rights.
Yeah, and this is,
that's why
it's not just 1 or 2 laws. It's a whole philosophy that permeates our legal system. And I think a good example of this is a law in Nebraska where if a husband and wife own property jointly, but the wife dies first, the husband pays no inheritance tax. But if the husband dies first, she pays enormous inheritance tax on his half of the jointly owned farm. Farm women in Nebraska are losing, many of them, everything they've worked all their lives for because of a law that's based on the principle that whatever the husband and wife own jointly, the husband is the one who really paid for it. We say we recognize the homemaker in this society, but with laws like that, it's quite apparent that we don't value the contribution of the partner, of the homemaker as a partner.
I've been sitting here, and sooner or later, I suppose I'll end up as a homemaker. But I don't want to worry about what legal rights I have and how I'm going to manage my household. All I want to do is worry about how I'm going to raise my children. And what I hear here is how I'm going to, what legal rights I'm going to have when my husband dies. And it just scares me enough so that I don't even want to get married.
That sounds like you're really, I know you don't mean it, but it sounds like you're pleading for ignorance. And I don't think you want to do that, do you?
No, I don't want to be ignorant. I want to go into college and get a job. Sure. But the way it's going, it's just, all these legal rights, I figure.
Know. But isn't it important at least that we anticipate problems? Is there there's no more, I think, difficult position than the single mother.
Absolutely.
I think,
well, Phil,
not only economically, but emotionally, culturally, she can't go anywhere without being, look at herself. She can't, if she stays home.
She's half a person. She's not a whole person. I think her statement, the Saturday Review did a series of articles on ERA, and one woman finally blurted out, well, we're not equal, so we might as well be safe. And I think this is the feeling and the fears that a lot of women have. The problem is, women, we're not safe either. The law does not even recognize you as a partner in your own family.
And we'll be back in just a moment.
On that note, we will close.
We're talking about Housewives for ERA and also the Martha Movement, addresses for which we will provide prior to the end of our program. You'll stand? Want to get in my act here? One man per show.
I just want to say the average age of the female in the United States lives to be 77. Why take all this time, legislative time, to change laws for housewives when they're only housewives for about 18 years out of those 77 years? I think it's a completely waste of time.
Who's the housewife in your family? Who's the housewife in your family? Who's the housewife in your family?
My wife and I run a business. That's the way we run our house.
Yeah.
We're making an investment
A lot of
together.
families, that's not true. The husband and the wife run a business and the wife runs the house. Many
I
women do double
think if a woman is respected right and she's very organized and she does the type of things a housewife should do, a man will honor that.
Hey,
and
that's
he'll,
part of the
He'll see that.
put-down.
You don't have to
That's
have a
right.
national
That's part of
movement
the
for it. He'll
put-down.
see it.
Who does this? You know, in most states, a woman who has raised her own children can't even get certified to work in a daycare center, and some kid who came right out of college and took 2 courses, who's never had any experience, can get that same job. Why shouldn't the women who have raised their own children be taking care of the community and using the skills and experience that we know to help our communities going? Our communities are falling apart.
And what should a woman do for a husband that doesn't take care of her, as you think he should?
I think if a woman is doing the proper things in a household, a husband will recognize that if he's a decent husband. Really. And as far as looking into things in a community, why not? Why are PTAs falling down in so many places? That's supposed to be supported by females and parents, and PTAs everywhere are having problems.
Gotta be kidding.
They are.
They ask you to make brownies. They don't ask you to get into the curriculum.
That's right. You better believe it.
You brought him, didn't you? Okay. Well.
No, I have to agree with him about PTAs. I'm sorry, I think a lot of housewives are asked to get into the curriculum and don't know what they're doing when they are asked to take some very important
I
steps.
was refused to be, I was not allowed to be on a commission in Fairfax County, Virginia, on sex bias in the public schools because I didn't represent anybody. I was only a homemaker, and they wouldn't let me be on it.
Right.
And we're invited to come to the PTA as long as we
Make the coffee,
money, yes,
clean up
and make money
afterwards.
for the library.
Oh, yes, right. That's important.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if they were the ones that put their article in one of the women's magazines that detailed each job that a housewife does and said like chauffeur, and it gave the hour, and by the time that we would have been paid a wage for each one of those men's jobs, we would have had $280 a week is what our pay would have been. Now, I'm not saying I want to get that pay because I get my pay in other ways from my husband and my family, but that's just what our work equals that's not recognized.
And they didn't even put in the psychotherapy and the,
right.
top professional stuff we do.
Okay. So little time.
Yes. I'm for everybody doing their own thing at all times. I feel disappointed and sad that the discussion has never come up today. What is best for the children? How can we economize so we can stay in our homes?
Right.
Which children were from homes where the mother wasn't there? I repeat, I realize everybody's got to do their own thing, but perhaps people should wait till they've done their own thing before they have their children and then concentrate on their children.
Dynamite.
Are the two mutually exclusive, though? They're not necessarily mutually exclusive.
What I wanted to say was that, in response to her comment, is that sometimes what's best for the children is what's best for the parents, and if they're happy, they will be so much better parents.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Thanks. I'm glad you waited. Is the caller there?
Yes.
Go right ahead.
I can't believe it.
What?
I am having one of those days, and I mean by one of those days the fact that my children are demanding of me. The cat just ate a plant, which was one of my favorites, and so on. The baby took a roll of toilet paper and put it down the toilet. All those things. And I just want to get through today and still feel happy about my situation. I never go out and work because I just don't like that. I'm a mother-oriented family. And I just would like to get through today. If you can help me, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, help. Well, I can't help you with the toilet paper. I got it. Let me just. I've been pretty good. I honestly feel that this point has to be made. I think we've got apparently some very happily married people in our audience today. Okay, terrific. But I do feel, he said, that in the euphoria of a happy relationship, the enormous dependence that women in this culture have on another person, usually a man to whom they are married, is gone unnoticed until it's too late. And that has got to be changed. I mean, we should not be, as this young man in the back row wants us to, you should not be so dependent on the virtue of a man, because they're not always that easy to read.
One of the questions that was brought up over here during the break was, well, if these women would just get a good man, you know, everything would be all right. And isn't this a myth that we believe that the answer to all of our problems is the right man?
Yeah. We're out of time.
I don't have any children now, but what scares me is when I have them, will my job consider the fact that I have children at home, that I have to do split, that I want to bring them. Raising kids, contrary to what you said, I'm not going to stop doing what I want to do after a few years and then stick with the children.
Hi, that's Jinx Melia, who is with the Martha Movement, the address of which we showed you. It's in Burke, Virginia. Is that possible to see that? Again? There it is. The Martha Movement is, better, you can't read it, Al, unless you give me a blank shot there. That's Post Office Box 283, Burke, Virginia. The zip is 22015. And then do we have the other address? There it is. Isn't that much easier? I don't mean to be a nitpicker, but if you're in the mountains and your signal's not bad, that looks like scrambled eggs on your... Martha Movement, Post Office Box 283, Burke, Virginia. The zip is 22015. And then we have one more address, do we not? Housewives for ERA, who are about to be discriminated against because we can't get their address
Rural
up.
Route 3, Urbana.
Oh, Urbana, Illinois. Rural Route, there it is. Rural Route 3, Urbana. The zip is 61801. These women care very much about you and your neighbors, and they're not pretending that everybody's going to march like wooden soldiers. That's not how we want it. But we certainly thank you for turning a lot of conversation wheels today. I'd love to know what these people will be talking about on the way home in the car. We may tape you all.
Yeah,
thank you. You've been an outstanding audience. Thank you very much. And thank you. Much good luck to you. Thank you. Reverend, you really got lucky with her. And we'll be back.
Our guests stay at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare, offering the exciting Breakaway Weekend 52 weeks a year. Call today or see your travel agent.